So good morning. You can probably tell it is very early. It's just gone 6 and it's that time of the week again. Ode to CAR-logne, episode 3. Oh, even the lights are behaving this morning. So yeah, it's pretty chilly. I'm not wearing this hoodie to work, but it's just cozy for the journey down. So today's sort of chat, I thought we'd just sort of look at 3 sort of fragrance questions essentially today. I realised I had to actually turn my car light on for you to actually see me. I tried it a minute ago and yeah, couldn't see myself. Apologies if I eat buttermints on the way. I like to treat myself to some buttermints before work because I just love buttermints, and yeah, it's like that little thing I enjoy to taste before work. It's like smelling a certain way. So the scent of the day today is a clone, but it's Tom Ford's Fabulous. Expletive. I wonder what people think actually. This is not one of the 3 questions I've got for today, but what do you think of fragrances that use like a bad word to kind of help promote it? Do you think it's a bit silly? I mean, they've got a few, and they've got a rose fragrance in their private blend as well, Tom Ford, that is a bit of a controversial name, and I'm not a big fan of fragrances using swear words in their phrase. I don't think you need to, and Tom Ford, in my opinion, certainly don't need to. You know, they're fantastic fragrances, and people are going to buy them whatever, but I know it grabs headlines. Is sometimes all news good? But you know, they always say there's no such thing as bad press. I think there is. I don't think, you know, just being in the news, whether it's for the right or wrong reason, is a good thing. But there we go. With Tom Ford Fabulous, they did start putting like a red line through the swear word. But yeah, I don't know about it myself. If anyone hasn't had this one though, what a brilliant fragrance. I think a lot of the negative reviews on Fragrantica of this one tend to be a result of the name, and maybe people expected a slightly different sort of scent profile based on that, but it is very nice. It's leather, it's vanilla, it's, in my opinion, it's a great sort of brash leather jacket type person who, yeah, is a bit of a bad boy. So I actually think it fits the name quite well, and obviously that isn't me. I appreciate that, but I just like this. I like the fragrance. I like the complexity of the scent, and yeah, to be honest, this clone. So it's called Fantastic Fabulous. This clone, it is great. It really is a fantastic fabulous. You know, in terms of the clone, it's stronger than the original. But if you like that vanilla leather sort of combination, this is definitely one to look out for, whether that's buying the actual fragrance or, you know, you go and get a clone like I did. I definitely recommend getting the clone for this one. So yeah, I've got 3 sort of questions today really, and the first one is it better to wear no fragrance or one that people might dislike that you know is a little bit controversial? I always think old school fragrances. I like one called Ted Lapidus. And yeah, this one is basically an old school pineapple, but it's super strong. The sillage on it is huge. Now personally, I'd always choose to wear a fragrance over one that people might dislike, because at the end of the day, with fragrances, you know, how do you know that people like the most safe, versatile one in the world either? You don't know that someone doesn't, you know, likes a blue fragrance or not. They might think it's a bit, yes, it's inoffensive, of course it is, but that doesn't necessarily mean someone likes it. So I think what I would say is you should always be able to wear what you want in fragrances. There's no rule that, you know, something smells good or bad. It's all subjective. That's what I love about fragrances. We're all experts because none of us are experts at the same time, if that makes sense. And what someone else wears is not really anyone's business, in my opinion. However, I don't think that means if you're aware that a fragrance might be a little bit offensive or might be a little bit daring that people may not like, just tone back on the sprays a little bit. Like with Lapidus, I'd probably at home, I'll spray 30. I wouldn't spray 30 of it actually. I'd probably do about 5 or 6 sprays. If I'm wearing this to work on a cold day, which like today actually, to be fair, early morning, a little bit chilly, I probably would wear it. But I'd probably only spray maybe 1 or 2. And just maybe put it on my chest. Again, where you spray it also matters. If you're wearing it on your neck with your neck exposed, it's going to travel more. So it's just being considerate really. I always think though, Fragrances, whether you like them or not, are meant to smell nice. They're meant to be a good thing. You know, there's no brand that's putting a fragrance out there that wants you to smell badly. And I'd always worry with no fragrance, particularly antiperspirant. If you just want an antiperspirant, absolutely fine, by the way. But I would always worry about smelling. I really, really don't want to smell myself personally. Again, it depends what you're doing, where you are. If I'm outside, maybe I'd probably wear no fragrances. So, in my opinion, for the first question I'm asking today, I'd rather wear a fragrance. However, I think you've just got to consider the amount and be aware if you think it's going to be controversial, just the amount and maybe where you are and what you're doing. If you're outdoors doing sport or whatever, then, you know, in my opinion, don't feel like you've got to change for anyone else. It's you, it's your body. If you feel confident rocking something, by the way, there's a good chance that actually it's not going to smell wrong anyway. Most people, I know fragrances are opinions, but most people do tend to like the same type of scent, I find anyway. Right, let's get through these temporary lights. Everything's going my way this morning on this journey at the minute. It's super quiet, which is good, because I'd rather get there early. Even though I'm doing this video, I'd rather get there early and sit around for a little bit. Hopefully it'll be light by the time I start. It's starting to lighten up. Right, so we're going to go on to the second question now. So the second question is, if you could wear a fragrance or a scent that could take you back to a memory, like a whatever sort of memory, transport you back, what would it be? So what moment would I transport back to? I never answer these just simply, do I? I always have to think too deeply about it. If I had to answer the question properly, I'd probably go back to when I first tried Baronda, which is my favourite fragrance by Nasamato. Now, if anyone's been to Harrods before, in London, they have a beauty sort of hall, I think they call it. Essentially, it's a room full of expensive fragrances, and yeah, really high-end ones. And you've got all these people at desks, sort of telling you to try them. So I think it's Elysium. I think there's a brand called that, or Elysium, something like that. But they've got loads. You know, you've got your Parfums de Marly, you've got your Acqua di Parma, you've got your Nasamatos, Tom Ford. You know, literally every expensive fragrance brand you can think of. And it was the first fragrance I tried in there was Nasamato Baronda. Never tried it before. The reason I went over to it is because I don't like people, when you spray. Of course, I know why they're there, because obviously when you're spraying high expensive fragrances, some people might take the mick a little bit and spray loads of them. So I went to a stall where there was nobody. There was nobody on that stall, essentially. Oh, it's so hard to see. It's foggy this morning. Anyway, so that was the first fragrance I tried, and instantly, it's a lovely boozy fragrance. It's like a sweet, oh, it's just heaven. If anyone's not tried it, I think it's rum, but it's like a caramel. It's a lovely caramel sort of fragrance, and it's so realistic. The booziness is so me. I love it. I don't drink much, to be honest with you, but boozy fragrances I just love. It's sort of a caramel booze. And I just instantly was like, wow, this fragrance is something else, like genuinely different level of fragrance. Because I'd smelled like Bentley for Men Intense, which is a beautiful, you know, fizzy rum fragrance, sparkling rum. But this one just had this extra quality. And I'd smelled, like I said, sweet fragrances before, but the expensive fragrances I'd owned tended to be like Acqua di Parma, citrus sort of cologne fragrances, rather than that real high-end, you know, woody, deep, more complex winter notes. So yeah, that sweetness from the booze was just heaven. And instantly I was like a kid in a sweet shop. I honestly could not stop smelling every fragrance going. And obviously everyone was saying, oh, try this one, as they want to sell the fragrances. Of course, it was Christmas time as well. So that's probably a memory I'd go back to. If I could go back to a fragrance memory, it's just that excitement of trying this really expensive fragrance for the first time. Now, I don't tend to like sort of linking fragrances to holidays or birthdays or Christmases or, you know, even good or bad moments, really. Obviously, bad moments is horrible when you've worn a fragrance that you had a bad day and then you sort of think you can't wear it again. I don't know if anyone else has that. I definitely do. Oh, the fog's going a little bit now, which is good. But yeah, the reason I don't like sort of linking fragrances to occasions, obviously naturally you do if you wear them for certain things, but even like a good thing. So my favourite place to go is Cornwall. I love going to Cornwall. Going there again next year actually to Bude. That's my favourite place in the whole world to go because it brings back family holidays. Now when I last went there I wore Lapidus and Grey Vetiver. Now the problem is if I wear them, and I've got both, I've got obviously a clone of Grey Vetiver at the moment, noted aromas, definitely recommend trying them if you haven't. It makes me feel sad that I'm not there. Does that make sense? So sometimes like a good memory, because I'm not there at that time, makes me feel quite sad. So I always try and look to the future. What could I wear for? So next week I'm going out for my brother's birthday for a curry. What could I wear for that curry? I tend to think of the future rather than the past. That's my first supplement in the morning. I like to eat three before I go in. So yeah, that's just one of the things I'd say. So what would I wear then if I'm thinking of the sort of future? What could I wear for that curry next week for my brother's birthday? What could I wear for the next holiday? Christmas, Halloween. So off the top of my head, if I could wear one, and I'm going to link it a little bit back to the question because I don't think you can get this fragrance anymore. But because I bought it for my brother's birthday years ago, and I know he really liked it, Azzaro Pour Homme Intense. This was boozy. This was really nice. I can't tell you the notes because I can't look at my phone in a minute. This was so nice. This was one of the best fragrances. It got a bit of hype in the fragrance community at the time. But Azzaro Pour Homme Intense was heaven. It really was. And it just smelled like a really well put together. And to me, I always say Bentley for Men Intense is the best cheap fragrance. When this was the same price, I think this was as good as Bentley for Men Intense, if not better. So if you can get Azzaro Pour Homme Intense, get Azzaro Pour Homme Intense because it is heaven. Again, I'd love to check the notes. I will check the notes at some point, but it reminds you of Christmas, reminds you of that holiday season. It's just very good. It's just a very well put together fragrance. So yeah, if you can get that one, that's the one that would take me to the future. And probably if I'm going on holiday right now, or thinking of the holidays, it's got to be Tobacco Vanille. It just is the holidays to me. If not, Burberry London is a cheaper one because I love that pininess. Or Yognog. Yognog's a brilliant scent. Oh, don't crash the car, Harry. I wasn't really. Anyway, so the final question that I'm going to answer today, and I want you to answer these, by the way. I want you to comment your answers to this one as well. So if the government in your country banned certain scents and you couldn't have them anymore, what ones would you miss the most? So for me, vanilla's too easy. It's too easy to say vanilla because yes, vanilla would be absolutely up there for me. But there's two that I'm going to mention that maybe people wouldn't mention. One is oak moss. Now oak moss tends to be more in old school fragrances. You still get it obviously, but I love it. It's that sort of green, and I'm not a massive fan of green fragrances, but oak moss just brings that nice barbershop feel, that sort of soapiness feeling as well. And I do like soapy fragrances. Not in the lipsticky vibe though, like Prada. I like them as well. But that green soapiness, that little bit old school, slightly more masculine type of fragrance, I really like. And obviously they've been phased out a little bit now, but I've always really liked those ones. I think it's in Paco Rabanne Pour Homme, which really got me into fragrances. And I just love that soapy clean vibe. I think we always forget sweet is great. Sweet really is great, but clean is also great. And yeah, it just brings a little bit more depth to a fragrance. Citrus notes, obviously, we say don't last as long. You tend to find oak mosses in the base of fragrances, and yeah, for that reason, I think it adds a little bit more depth by smelling clean and soapy. So yeah, I like that smell. I think it's easy to pull off. I think soapy fragrances as well, quite nice in the winter as well. On top of that, so you know, it's not just a summer thing. A soapy fragrance, you can wear it all times of year. And yeah, I just really like that sort of soapy vibe, and oak moss gives that sort of green barbershop soapiness for me, more like shaving cream. And then probably the other one, which is more of a top note, pink pepper. Again, if you said to me now, identify pink pepper as a fragrance note, would I particularly know what it is? Probably not, but there's a lot of fragrances I've owned, particularly floral ones, that have pink pepper in. And Sakura by Acre de Parma is one of my favourites, but there's plenty that have pink pepper in. I think pink pepper, I always think of pepper, obviously brings a bit of a spiciness, a bit of a fizz. I think this gives this sort of pink fizz, essentially, to a fragrance. And I just think it's nice. I just think it, you know, it makes a citrus fragrance a little bit more fizzy. It makes a fragrance slightly more, you know, like a nice floral. And I just think it's got an element of sophistication again about it. I just, you know, I really love Sakura, and I think that pink pepper and cherry blossom combination just works. They're the two things I think I'm picking up in it. And yeah, I just think it's a note that when you look at fragrances, if you type pink pepper in, it's in a lot of fragrances. So a lot of these master perfumers must value its use in fragrances a lot. So I definitely think, you know, it's a note that I would probably notice I miss if I didn't have it in fragrances. But obviously I love all my boozy notes. I said my favourite sort of note or scent profile is booziness. So, you know, I would definitely miss boozy notes if they took them out, even if I don't drink it myself. But isn't it funny how, you know, certain things, I don't really like alcohol to drink, because obviously I like my running and stuff. But in fragrances, it's a big thing for me. So yeah, they're the answers to my questions. So again, essentially the questions we asked today: wear no fragrance at all, or one that you might find people find offensive. Would you do it? Would you rather not wear one? The last light I read. If you could wear a fragrance, what, you know, could take you back to a past memory, would you do it? What's this person doing? They're getting out of the car in the middle of the road. Shut the door. Now I'm choking on the buttermint. And yeah, the third question: if they banned a sort of a scent, which ones would you miss the most? Would it be those sort of vanillas and cinnamons and all them, or would it be, like me, slightly different ones like an oak moss or pink pepper? So yeah, nearly at work now. Thankfully the camera I think is a little bit better now, putting it up a little bit higher. I'm not going to the gym today. I have a day off the gym today as well, but yeah, nearly 7 in the morning now, so not too bad. Well, I say it's nearly 7, it's 6:30, so I'm going to go for a little walk. I'm going to eat my last 2 buttermints. What about butter in fragrances, by the way? I need to look at some butter fragrances. There's a really good Lush one, by the way. If you like smelling of gourmand, which I think a lot of people do, let the good times roll. You smell like buttery popcorn. Might be a bit too realistic for some people, but some people, I mean, I've worn it and I've got confidence. Some people think you smell of baking. They might think someone's baking cookies. That's how realistic it is. But yeah, I like the fragrances anyway. Right, I better sign off now anyway, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Not sure when this is going to be uploaded, but at least I think it's gone all right. So I'll listen to it back, and if you see this one, it means it's gone well in my opinion. So yeah, share your thoughts in the comments, and anything you'd like me to mention on one of these car journeys in the future, and I will do so. I'll catch you later.